Greetings to all fellow cultivators who have visited 1991 Review, the place specializing in analyzing and commenting on cultivation's secret realms. The Magic Treasure Exchange assembly among the core formation experts had extended for half a day, and the market officially closed just as the setting sun fell upon the peak of Tianlan City. After every gaze was satisfied with the rare items, True Man Tianqing, the hosting old Taoist, stood up and smiled, cupping his hands to thank the fellow Taoists who had traveled thousands of miles to attend, and promised to open an even larger-scale assembly in the near future. Suddenly, a blinding burst of spiritual light shot out from his storage pouch. He placed 7 or 8 items before him, causing the entire assembly to fall silent, then erupt in extreme astonishment. These were 7 or 8 puppet beasts, each with different form: a coiled azure python, a sharp-horned crimson ox, all of them emitting surprisingly powerful spiritual qi, far surpassing the giant ape puppet that Han Li once possessed. Han Li, the secluded nascent soul expert, felt an internal shock. These puppets clearly possessed the power level of the early core formation stage, yet they were unlike any puppet art he had ever encountered. Could it be that True Man Tianqing also originated from the Heavenly Bamboo sect? But that sect was known to lack nascent soul cultivators. Or perhaps the old Taoists had practiced a different kind of ancient puppet art. An old, long-bearded cultivator couldn't suppress his greed and immediately spoke up to request a trade, asking True Man Tianqing what he wished to exchange for. The old Taoist replied, "This Taoist only seeks an item called Soul Stone from the Primordial Era, 1 block for 1 puppet beast. These are puppets refined by ancient cultivators, and it is hard to find any higher-grade ones in this realm." The unfamiliar name Soul Stone caused the core formation cultivators to be suspicious. They had never heard of this kind of spirit stone. As if anticipating this, True Man Tianqing took out a jade green spirit stone. On the surface, it resembled a wood attribute spirit stone, but when one spiritual sense swept over it, one would perceive a strange, chilling Yin attribute spiritual qi, completely devoid of wood attribute properties. A demonic cultivator sighed, feeling that it resembled Yin soul power but was much purer. The old Taoist said he was unsure what power it contained, but affirmed that it was not soul qi. Otherwise, why would he dare to exchange it for such precious puppets? Just then, Han Li saw the spirit stone, and his expression suddenly changed. This is precisely the Yin Underworld beast crystal that he collected in the Yin Underworld realm. It's just that the ancient cultivators called it by a different name. Connecting this to the fact that the puppets in the Ethereal Heaven Palace all use soul stones as their core, his suspicion regarding the identity and purpose of True Man Tianqing deepened further. Soul stones were rare, so a long time passed before only one cultivator managed to find a single piece to exchange for 1 puppet. Seeing that no one else had a similar item, True Man Tianqing momentarily showed disappointment and prepared to put the remaining ones away. Immediately, Han Li stepped forward and took out a block of soul stone the size of a chicken egg. The dense, blue-green chilling Yin Qi was clearly visible to the naked eye, far exceeding the one in the old Taoist hand. True Man Tianqing was horrified, then overjoyed, saying that Han Li could choose any 2 puppets. Han Li calmly replied, "I wish to exchange for all 6 of them." The old Taoist momentarily showed dissatisfaction, but after hearing Han Li subtly imply that he was in great need of soul stones, and that this block was exceptionally rare, his expression changed, and he finally nodded in agreement. The surrounding cultivators were all shocked by the extraordinary value of the spirit stone block. Han Li completed the exchange, putting the 6 puppets away. While bowing his head, he subtly moved his lips, transmitting a message that he still had many more soul stones and wished to conduct a private transaction. True Man Tianqing's eyes revealed a look of horror, but he did not say anything. The transaction concluded, Han Li, along with Fire Dragon Child and Lu Luo, left the Star Dragon Pavilion. After Fire Dragon Child excused himself, Lu Luo explained about the Taoist lamb. Taoist lamb accidentally ate a stranger when he was young, so his body remains like a young boy, but he has a generous nature and is one of the few elders of the ancient sword sect who is close to Fallen Cloud sect. Following this, Han Li said he wanted to buy some special talisman-making materials and browse the market district. The 2 parted ways, with Lu Luo heading to the auction. The West Market District of Tianlan City was much larger than any place Han Li had been to. He wanted to buy rare materials to refine high-grade talismans, especially in preparation for making the spirit-rank talismans, a type of talisman with extremely powerful force, capable of saving a life in a crisis. To craft them, besides improving his skill, he had to replace his old talisman brush with a genuinely good one, as the old brush was no longer suitable. Talisman brushes were special spiritual tools, mostly low or mid-grade, because talisman masters generally had low cultivation and could not easily use high-grade brushes. Core formation talisman masters were already extremely rare, and nascent soul ones were practically non-existent. Thus, high-grade talismans were even more precious than peak-grade magic tools. Han Li walked and observed the various magic tools, hoping to find a peak-grade talisman brush. Everything seemed calm until a loud commotion, indicating a conflict, arose nearby. Hanli intended to ignore it, but then heard a loud shout. "What is this? Are you falling cloud sect cultivators so unruly? You broke an item, won't compensate for it, and want to leave." The second voice was familiar, belonging to a young man who was refuting the accusation. Recognizing the incident was related to his sect, Hanli stopped and changed direction, heading towards a noise. He was an elder of the Falling Cloud sect. He couldn't pretend not to be concerned. Upon arrival, he saw over 10 people surrounding a general store. Inside, an angry young man in black was revealed to be Sun Hua of the Fire Cloud Peak. His cultivation had increased significantly. Facing him were 3 local cultivators who appeared to be the shopkeeper and 2 apprentices. The shopkeeper growled, cursing the Falling Cloud sect for being poor, and demanded 300 spirit stones in compensation for a damaged Fire Cloud talisman, claiming it was the work of the great talisman master Tianlan City. Sun Hua was furious, but was threatened with a report to the enforcement envoy. Eventually, he gritted his teeth and took out a stack of low-grade talismans. The shopkeeper intended to take them, but Sun Hua pulled back a yellow, half-damaged talisman, which led to even fiercer ridicule from the shopkeeper. Just as the shopkeeper's hand was about to grasp the stack of talismans, a figure suddenly appeared and calmly held the talismans in Sun Hua's hand. Both Sun Hua and the shopkeeper were startled. The newcomer coldly asked, "Shopkeeper, I only heard you repeatedly speak ill of our Falling Cloud sect, calling it this and that. Could you repeat those words for this Han to hear once more?" As soon as he finished speaking, an awe-inspiring aura burst forth from him, and a massive spiritual pressure descended. The expressions of surrounding cultivators instantly changed drastically, and they backed away a few steps. Some cultivators with weaker cultivation felt as if Mount Tai was pressing down on them, directly half kneeling on the ground. The 2 core formation cultivators who had just walked by fared a little better, their bodies only swaying slightly, before one of them spoke in a voice filled with shock. "Nascent soul stage cultivator. Senior." Hanli shot a cold glance, causing them to fall silent. The shopkeeper and the 2 store apprentices stood before Hanli, unable to move a muscle under the close-range spiritual pressure. Their faces were pale with terror. Upon hearing that Hanli was a nascent soul stage cultivator, their souls were scared out of them. They rushed to open their mouths to beg for mercy. But the gravity on the 3 of them was like Mount Tai. They could not even breathe, let alone speak. The faces of surrounding cultivators were also devoid of blood, and some timid cultivators quietly retreated. Only Sun Hua, protected by Hanli, was merely forced back a few steps. Recognizing Hanli, he quickly stepped forward and paid his respects, addressing him as Martial Ancestor Han. Hanli merely glanced at the damaged talisman in his hand and coldly stated that he knew his identity. Sun Hua hurriedly confessed his fall for his rudeness in the sacred land years ago. Hanli did not blame him, but said that the talisman seemed to be related to him. Just then, a silver rainbow streaked over, the enforcement envoy of Tianlan City. The silver-haired old man respectfully asked Hanli for the reason. Hanli said he only wanted the shop owner to repeat the slander against the Falling Cloud sect. The enforcement envoy immediately reprimanded the shopkeeper and ordered them to apologize. Once Hanli retracted his spiritual pressure, the 3 men crawled over, trembling, admitting all fault and willingly dropping the demand for compensation. Hanli did not let the matter rest, insisting they must check if the Fire Cloud talisman was truly made by a great master. If true, he would compensate on behalf of his disciple. Otherwise, the shopkeeper must immediately confess that his talisman was only common goods. Having said this, Hanli handed the matter over to the enforcement envoy to handle, then called for Sun Hua. With a flash of earth evasion technique, the 2 vanished right before the cultivator's eyes, causing everyone to be terrified. The enforcement envoy sighed in relief and led the shopkeeper away. Hanli and Sun Hua appeared in a secluded stone room. When the 2 halves of the damaged talisman in Sun Hua's hand fit together perfectly, Sun Hua immediately bowed down, addressing him as master. Hanli burned the talisman, satisfied with his self-control. "It seems you truly are a descendant of Sun Ergu. However, don't rush to call me master yet. You are the 7th-generation great-grandson, correct?" Hanli recounted how Sun Ergu had sworn an oath to serve him as master years ago, and now that the descendant had entered the cultivation world, the oath might no longer be meaningful. Hanli offered 2 choices. 1. Receive some benefits and from now on have no further ties. 2. Continue to inherit the oath, accept a restriction and work for him, which might entail danger, but in return he would receive guidance, cultivation support, and privileges sufficient to give him hope of core formation. Hanli told Sun Hua not to answer yet, but to wait until after the exchange assembly, return to the sect, think carefully, and then come to his cave abode to find him. Sun Hua agreed. Hanli nodded, said he had important matters to attend to, and immediately used his evasion technique to leave. Returning to pavilion, Hanli found Mu Paling waiting. He gave her a pair of teal jade interlinked pendants, instructing her that infusing spiritual power would create a protective shield, and he would be able to sense her even thousands of miles away. Mu Peiling blushed as she accepted it. Upstairs, Hanli meditated for a moment before opening his eyes, looking at the dark night outside the window, muttering to himself that it was time to meet the other person. He quietly left the pavilion, taking the old route back to the building marked Star Dragon Pavilion. Without hesitation, he went inside. The lights were bright, and True Man Qianqing was sitting and waiting, greeting him with a smile and saying the agreed-upon time had just arrived. Hanli responded appropriately, closing the main door with an invisible force. The old Taoist immediately asked about the soul stones that Hanli had messaged him about. Without much talking, Hanli took out a block of soul stones similar to one in the daytime, but with dense, blue-green yin qi, startling True Man Qianqing. He quickly asked Hanli how many blocks he had, and if he was willing to exchange for any materials or spirit stones. Hanli calmly replied, "There are still a few questions I need to ask." He tossed the soul stone over. After examining it, True Man Qianqing became even more cautious, promising that if he could answer, he would surely satisfy Hanli. Hanli then asked about the Gung Essence item he had mentioned at the Great Assembly. True Man Qianqing did not deny it, saying he knew a little but was not sure. According to the information he received from the auction host, a block of Gung Essence might appear in the upcoming auction, but the current owner wanted to trade it for something else, so it might not be brought out. If it did appear, the major sword cultivation sects would surely fight fiercely for it. Hanli understood the value of the rare treasure, knowing he could not compare his resources with those of entire sects, but he still thanked True Man Qianqing and asked if he knew the owner of the item. The old Taoist only knew that the other party was a nascent soul cultivator belonging to the Nine Nations Alliance, residing on a small mountain in the west, easy to find. Hanli then changed the topic back to the soul stone. At the mention of this, True Man Qianqing's eyes turned cold. Hanli did not hesitate, taking out a jade box containing 2 more large blocks of soul stone. This time, the old Taoist's expression drained of color, and he urgently asked how Hanli managed to obtain so many. Seeing Hanli only smile without answering, True Man Qianqing changed his tone, saying he would tell everything, but he wanted to know how Hanli found the soul stones. Hanli immediately agreed. If fellow Taoists find this analysis helpful, please leave a Tao seal like and a spiritual thought comment, so that 1991 Review can have more motivation to transmit newer secret manuals. Farewell, and see you in the next analysis.